Indiana, about a year ago, we decided that we're going to start a drum corps here. We were looking for a position. First, we started in Pennsylvania, and that it just didn't seem to have the population that we needed. So somebody said, well, Indiana has some of the best musicians in the country. And I live in Indiana, and it's a lot closer for me. So I decided, let's see what we can do. So we decided we're not going to be a first-year touring corps. I mean, we're going to be a SoundSport Team, which is where you start in DCI to build up your credibility as you get your budget together and everything. And so as a result, we are going to be very local in our performances. But there are going to be people who are going to ask, why should I take the time to do this? What reason do I have for being involved in something? Because there are a lot of hours involved in this, a lot of time, a lot of hard work. Nick, why don't you start? Why should a person consider being involved in a smaller organization such as this?
Well, I mean, there's really nothing better than starting something that can be very successful and knowing that you helped to start that. Putting that time in and putting that dedication in, it can be very rewarding.
Okay, and Nina?
Well, I mean, I know that for the Cavaliers, there's still that group of people that were there at the very beginning. They still come around to everything, and we all appreciate them so much, even all these years later. And, you know, you can really make that much of a difference that far down the line. And not only that, but regardless of where you do it, just doing drum corps is equally as transformative for you as a person. When I wanted to march, I was dead set. I was going to be a Cavalier. I was going to do it. They were at the top of the activity, and the Troopers were a very, very good organization. We weren't quite competitively successful that year, but the person I was before I went there and the person I was afterwards are completely different. It's like a complete turning point in my life. And I know that you can get that no matter where you march.
Rich, how about from an instructor standpoint? You've worked with many groups over the years. Tell me what you see the transformation takes place in a member from when day one, when they first walked in, to the last day when they walk out.
Well, by virtue of the fact that you are spending an extraordinary amount of hours for the same achievement of said objective, to be as good as you can possibly be, the level of your abilities will skyrocket, provided you have instruction there that is credible. And I can assure you that riding on the crest of the wave of how members appreciate what the pioneers of the activity have done, now that I have spent far more years on the other side of the desk as an instructor, as a consultant, as a clinician, as even a corps director, I might add, we appreciate those students who have chosen to be in on the ground floor, because they know that, barring some planets all being in alignment, there is not going to be a success rate that will occur a little bit further down the line. But it is imperative that you get that first year team out there so that you can plant those seeds. You plant the seeds, and in a very short amount of time, provided the seeds are good seeds and the gardeners are good gardeners, then you're going to have a wonderful harvest in a short amount of time.
Excellent. Why? I know many people aspire to be part of Blue Stars, Cavaliers, Carolina Crown, but your experience with the audition process, the competitiveness to get into these high-level organizations. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Okay. Well, as for why I first got interested, I think everyone has that moment, like whether or not it's on PBS, 20, 25 years ago, or ESPN, about 5 years before I got into it. For me, the Blue Devils rehearsed at my high school, and they were always really good, but it was just kind of just a side thing that, that's kind of cool. and I was really into marching band, and I just remember going to DCI finals in 2011, and it was just that moment where, like, I saw the Cavaliers and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never wanted to be a part of something so much in my life before. And I think everybody kind of gets that. And I know for me, when I talk about being transformative, I really mean it. I was the most unfit physically person I think I knew. I couldn't do push-ups. I was very scrawny. I could play decently, but I remember finally showing up to that audition camp, and I'd worried about like what clothes I was bringing. I was like, am I going to look stupid? And I remember they told me that I just needed more visual experience, which was basically, you know, a code word for you. Well, I think that was exactly what it meant. It was like I needed to do it for a bit before I was ready for that kind of thing. And I think they were right. But I know I was really bummed out about that, and I was planning on not marching. I tried getting an alternate spot at Blue Stars, and it didn't quite work out. It was actually really funny. I was marching in the Indy 500 parade with my high school, and the troopers were right next to us in the parade. And we were talking, I thought, oh yeah, these guys are pretty cool. And they were like, we have a mellophone spot open. And I'd mentioned that I'd auditioned, and they were like, well, you know, that sounds like the sort of person we could use. And the brass caption had talked to me, and a week later, I'd moved in, and I was doing it. It's the quickest audition I think I'd ever done, and I was so glad I did it. I got everything I could have possibly wanted out of that summer.
So would you recommend that a person who is just beginning to have an interest, who has never competed, has never performed in a drum corps, might get a good start in a program such as what we're forming here, Storm, in Indiana, as a good way to get their chops together, get themselves together?
Get your chops, get your bearings, get all the ticks out. You know, it's you figure out how to learn and how to work. Just like the mindset that you need to be successful. And I know that well, for one, that absolutely carried in my classes back in high school, and definitely my classes here.
I must say that I've always been, and I'm sure that I will continue to be, of an attitude of not wanting this team to be a stepping stone,
Right.
regardless of how many years they have been in existence. I started out in a drum and bugle corps in Butler, Pennsylvania called the General Butler Vagabonds, and that drum and bugle corps was packed with incredible talent, including several DCI individual champions, and a huge drum line, a huge horn line, a huge color guard. But every year, invariably, kids would leave and go to bigger groups, and it felt like we were a farm team in baseball, like we were the class AAA team, and then when they would get the call to go to the majors, I mean, we were left out in the cold. So it's something that I will never be comfortable with. If I'm involved with Storm, I want Storm to be the best it can possibly be, and I'm not interested in kids who are saying, well, I'll cut my teeth in Storm and then I'll go to Santa Clara or whatever. I mean, I want them to love it here and I want them to stay here.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the attitude would be, that you would come here and you would learn to love it here.
Yeah. And in addition to what I said, because I do absolutely agree with what you say, Troopers was definitely, you know, I think that's actually going to be the nice thing about Storm, that Troopers wasn't really able to work out for me. I actually did want to go back to Troopers, but it was actually a distance thing and a money thing. I wasn't able to afford to go to Wyoming and rehearse there. And, you know, I actually had a completely different opinion of the Cavaliers after I'd marched, and it was eventually more of just well, I can afford to travel to Chicago, but I can't afford to travel to Wyoming. So I know that that's what everybody in Indiana wants, is they want something that doesn't have to be such an initial, like, endeavor of traveling across the country just for the chance, or just for maybe I can do it, but to have it all here and just say, okay, I can set my roots here, where we've really needed roots here for a while.
Well, that's one of the objectives of Storm, is to give people a chance to do something at a cost that's viable.
Yeah.
Most of the drum corps cost $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to belong to, and we're trying to make a program that allows the student, the member, to actually raise their own dues. If they work hard, they can, in fundraising and everything. So there technically could be a situation if a very energetic person could earn everything that they need to be in the organization. And so that we want to keep it as shoestring tight a budget as we can possibly keep it, so that we focus more on the membership than on I guess, the glory of size. Our objective is for the first 2 years to stay relatively tight, and then eventually, at the end of those 2 years, make an evaluation whether or not we want to go out into the open class of DCI and start traveling. But even then, we only want to travel within about a 500-mile radius, just to keep our costs under control. And then at the end of each year, we will reevaluate if we can extend that another 100 miles till we actually work our way up to this. So this is something that's very, very beneficial for the students. I also want to point out that some of the band directors have had some concerns about their kids being taken away during the summer. We don't take kids from bands that have summer programs. We will just simply say to the band director, please send us your seniors. Because we're not going to hurt band programs. Our whole purpose is here to enhance and support music programs, not destroy them. So is there anything else that you guys would like to share?
Well, I really do like the idea, and I really appreciate that Storm is going to be really looking out for the programs that we want kids from. I know that was something that I struggled with in high school, was I felt like I wasn't able to give to my high school band what I needed because I was always gone during the summer, and then I came back with completely different ideas, but at the same time I didn't want to push people too hard and be seen as the guy that came back and wanted to take charge. So I definitely appreciate so much what Storm is doing for that, and making sure that it's a helpful relationship on both sides, for both the schools and for us.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Don't you have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I know the work ethic and desire that you have, and so I was very flattered and honored to be asked to come on board in any capacity. I think you got your ducks in a row. I think you have learned from things that maybe haven't worked in the past, which is the key to any successful organization. It's not about making mistakes. It's about what you do after you make them. You know, and some people say, "Oh shoot, I made a mistake. I'm out of here." But you know, the tenacity that you have shown, the consistent tenacity through the years. I mean, we've known each other quite a long time now. I'm very excited to be a part of this, and I can't wait for it to get started.
Just to let you know, Rich drove 2.5 hours out of his way to come here to do this today, so I was really flattered that he decided to do that. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you all.